we separate the two, if we just care, we talking about guns and let's change the guns laws, let's do mandatory minimums, and we still don't have jobs, right? We have communities that are ravaged with violence with unemployment rates of 50%.
Or more.
Or more. People with jobs ain't got time for that.
Absolutely.
People that have jobs, and it's not making people responsible for their lives. People make choices every day. But if I got a swath of folks who don't have a place to go, like they graduate, maybe you graduate from school, and maybe it's not even a great school, but you graduated, but you're not going to college. Maybe you even learned a trade. If you can't get a job, if you live in a neighborhood, if you don't have a car, most of the folks, they just stuck in one area. And if we don't have opportunities there, I'm not excusing people making the choice. But we cannot separate the conversation. I mean, I think it's really important to me, if you take nothing else from my conversation today, about talking about that economic investment in neighborhoods. That folks can't be let off the hook for that, because you are paying for it on the back end. Let's talk about Austin for a moment, and I know that's West Side, but they did a study that showed that they spent $20 million on one block in Austin on incarceration. Wow. University of Illinois in Chicago did a study, and it's called $1 Million Blocks, and I'll make sure that I get it to you, Tanya, to share. And it talked about how much it costs to incarcerate people during the course of, I think it was like 20 years on one block. $20 million.
Insane.
And so the question is, if we have it to do, and we've done it, we have spent a lot of money for years on incarceration rates. And I'm going to tell you, and the other point that I need to make to business communities, when folks come out, if you have a felony conviction, your likelihood of being hired is like nil. Nil. We need businesses to hire people coming out of prison. We need to, and I get it. I tell people, I got cousins where I can't leave my purse out when they're around.
Me too. Yeah.
I'll pay them if you don't like open a cash register, right? But there are things that you can do, that they can do with the recognition that they're working, right? Because people think the incentive is they won't do it again if they go to prison. If your fail rate is 60%, it's not the prison.
No, they've got so many repeat offenders out here.
We have so many repeat offenders, not because they're like horrible people. If you can't work,
killing folks, you are horrible.
Yeah, but
robbing, killing, carjacking, you're horrible.
That percentage is small. You're not coming out if you kill somebody. Right. We're talking about most of the people who are down there are there for drug cases.
And retail.
Well, they used to be. We need to drop those numbers significantly.
Let me ask you two things real quick.
Now, it's gotta be a real. Is there a question?
It's gonna be quick.
All right.
It's gonna be quick.
They're gonna get you.
No, they're not. I'm finishing my meal and Tanya know I'll be gone. She can catch me later. Oh shoot.
See?
I forgot. No. Okay. With that being said, but in all seriousness, like you said, my question is, what do we do? For one. The mental health stuff, they're taking away all of those.
That's right.
A lot of trade schools are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, what do, like you said, all kids are not college bound, and we understand that, and I really commend those that are. But like you said, if you graduated, and like the mayor has put in place, if you graduated high school, you got to go somewhere. You're either going to go to college or you're going to go to a trade school, which is good because a lot of them was just hanging out in the street. A lot of them didn't even graduate. And a lot of them, I mean, so many different scenarios. But what can we do to bring some of the services needed back into the communities? Because you got so many homeless, you can't walk a half a block downtown, much less a block. There's so many homeless folks. There's so many folks, so many kids out here. And I hate to say it, once you think about it seriously, it sort of destroyed everything. They can't go to the malls now. Yeah. They can't go to Navy Pier. Yep. They can't hardly go to shows. None of the stores want them. Yeah. I mean, you got to change.
Tell you what you
but
can
I
do.
think a lot of your questions with like education.
I know it's hard to
unless you fund education differently, because education all their income is on property taxes.
Mhm.
So if you do not fund education outside of property taxes, the Gold Coast school will always have more than the schools in South
In the
Shore.
South Shore.
And it will not change
Again,
until you
what
change
do we
that.
So
do?
here's what you can do. So chambers of commerce have a lot of power. That's why I'm here. Y'all have a lot of power. When somebody got their carjacked in the Gold Coast the other day, those business folks was like, not here. They done crossed in
That's
and
what I'm saying.
and I'm not saying that we haven't done that, but flexing the power of the chamber to be able to say as a unified, when I say we need more mental health folks, when the traditional advocates do it, they can be blown up. Then when the business community says to your alderman, to the mayor, to your state legislators, to your state reps, I would encourage you to call them in as a chamber. Go around the room. We didn't get a chance to do it yet. Tell them what you do. Because there's a collective power that we have as black folk that we don't exercise. There is the taking advantage. There are some people that they know aren't going to vote. There are some people that they know aren't engaged. But who they are afraid of are people with power and money. And if what you see is that they, other chambers, other business folks give money to their people to make sure that their people are doing what they need them to do. And so that's how you can get 3 grocery stores in one block. Where here, we have to make sure that the chamber says, I know our neighborhoods aren't safe because y'all disinvested in mental health services. What do you
Absolutely.
make them come answer to you? Ask the question, when was the last time you asked for mental health funding? Ask the question, what are you doing on education funding? Or if we can't change the system because it's going to be hard because there's not an incentive for some folks to want to change how we do it, what are you at least doing about it? When they come to talk to you at the chamber, it's like, this is what we trying to get to come down here. It is like a narrow conversation because that's what they think you want to hear. But when you're talking about crime, we got to talk about it like, I don't want these folks shooting up in front of my store. I don't want them doing this. And I know the way that we can do that is investment in this. What are y'all doing with this? Where's my tax dollar going? I will give you the breakdown of how much you are paying right now for the way that we are doing things. And most folks, when you start pushing them on explaining to me what you're doing about this, they don't know. And they feel like they don't have to. Yes, sir.
Question for you. We have a security team on 71st and on Stony Island. We have an SSA over here, and part of the services is security on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. And back in 2016, the security team told us that the ACLU was putting a lot of pressure on the police department to stop making these low-level arrests.
Yeah.
So what was happening is they weren't arresting anyone. And they had people loitering and stealing from the businesses. The business owners would not go to court. And just sitting here listening to your conversation, I'm wondering now, should we even encourage business owners to go to court for low-level offenses like this?
So, yes, if they are summoned to court, they should come to court. Like, if we've decided not to charge something or charge it as a misdemeanor, if it's charged as a misdemeanor, they still should come to court. I think what's happened, the problem is the ACLU's work around stop and frisk and the like has a real impact on relationships between community and law enforcement, which that is a whole separate, long conversation that we have to talk about. Is you talk about what we spend. We have spent hundreds of millions of dollars paying for lawsuits as it relates to police accountability. Now, again, just like anybody, there's a small fraction of folks who were engaged in really bad behavior that we didn't hold accountable that now everybody has to pay for. So all police are now painted with the same brush. Prosecutors are painted with the same brush for the bad actions in a system that didn't hold them accountable. And so part of what they saw around some of the policing tactics, which were what we call broken windows, right? We want to, if we pick people up for the small things, the quality of life issues, that then helps the community feel safer. But because we've had some bad actors, not just in Chicago, but across the country, who were using that for other purposes, what we saw was that there were civil rights lawsuits being filed. There were things that were happening that suggested that that wasn't the way to go. New York, which had a stop and frisk practice, New York's stop and frisk has gone down dramatically. New York's violent crime has gone down dramatically. So I have to tell you that because people will think, well, if we stopped more people more frequently, crime would go down. New York and Los Angeles, we have more homicides in Chicago than New York and Los Angeles put together.
Terrible, terrible.
Put together. Chicago has about 2.8 million people, 2.7 million people. New York and all its boroughs, the city of New York has 9 million people. They have almost 3 times as many people as we have. And last year, their homicide rate was at about 300. So, why do I say that in response to that question? What New York and LA have learned is, one, the community engagement piece is huge.
Absolutely.
That they have to do that together. That these practices weren't necessarily helping them. And they could be able to make the case that we don't have to do that in order to drive crime rates down. Now, it means thinking creatively. It means they talk holistically, right? In Los Angeles, they have a whole unit. And it's not a lot of money. $25 million out of an $8 billion budget on their gang violence reduction strategy. Bring your aldermen, bring your folks and ask them what's our gang violence reduction strategy. What's our strategy?
I like to hear that answer from our alderman myself.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I kind of know some friends on the inside. How are
Yeah.
you? It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to
You
meet
are
you.
really good friends with my friend Omari Prince.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we ain't got. We gathered to him with you.